Hey guys, happy Thursday. Welcome back to the channel for today's episode. We are finally going to be sharing a personal story with you guys from one of our community members, Chrissy, who has been very vocal both in the Facebook group and on the comment section of YouTube videos. She's amazing. We've gotten together, via messages and stuff and kind of been able to chat and learn about each other. And she took the time out to write out her whole story for me, and I think it's really important to share with you guys because it sort of proves some things that we've all been saying or that we've all been assuming for a while, and now we are going to have an actual face and an actual example of a real person to reference and to talk about with it. So we've all heard people say that Mounjaro or GLP-1s are a lifelong medication, that if you go off of the medicine, you'll regain the weight. And that's been being said pretty much this whole time, right? Since GLP-1s, over a year now, since GLP-1s got really popular, people have been saying that. But there's not really, in my opinion, that I've been able to find, there's not really any proof of that other than the Zepbound study that is this large group of people, and you don't really have a face to the name, and you don't really you're hearing what they're saying, but there's no personal side to it, right? There's no real story to it. And so I wanted to share one with you. I wanted to share that with you guys today. I'm going to be inserting some pictures of Chrissy throughout that she has shared with me and given me permissions to share, some before and after pictures. And I have a bit of her sort of background story that I want to share with you guys because I think it's all important, and I think that we could relate pretty well to her story. I know that I do 100%. Her story and my story align pretty well with each other. So let's just go ahead and jump into it. So this is Chrissy. Chrissy, like I said, and I have really similar backgrounds. So we both grew up playing sports. She said that she was always really into sports growing up through middle school and high school. And those things kept her relatively fit and relatively in shape. Although she does say that she was always on the higher end of what was considered normal throughout high school. And she was always the bigger girl on her sports team and stuff like that. So in her mind, it was pretty clear that the sports are what was keeping obesity at bay, that the amount of activity that she was doing was sort of masking her struggles with weight and all of that. And that continued well into her 20s. So in her 20s, Chrissy ended up joining the US Army. Thank you for your service, Christy. And that activity and that structure within the Army was what kept her obesity again at bay. And she remembers being really in shape within her 20s, throughout her 20s. She said she was able to do 42 real push-ups, not girl push-ups, formed real push-ups, 42 of them. She was able to run a 9-minute mile. She's always been somebody who enjoyed running, and this running actually plays a pretty good role in her entire journey. But yeah, again, she weighed about 150 pounds. She's 5'6", and she was able to keep her weight struggles at bay throughout her 20s from being in the Army and having that level of activity that the Army required. Now, she hits 30, like a lot of us, and she started having babies. So she gets married, she has her babies. She ended up having 2 children, has one in her early 30s, and that is when her weight, she noticed, started to increase. So she said that she started noticing her weight increasing from 150 to 160 to 170, and it just kept playing in the back of her mind. And her weight problems started to creep up. She was exercising less. She was having babies. She was going through hormonal changes, hint, hint, from having babies. And she remembers at this time in her 30s trying every diet under the sun. The ones that she told me about specifically were Weight Watchers, Jenny Craig, Dexatrim, which I don't even know what that is, and Slim Fast. She literally tried everything and was not able to lose the weight no matter what she did. And I think that's important to note because that is something that a lot of us went through. We tried everything. We just couldn't get the weight off and kept off. She said that she even tried starvation, right? And she remembers a specific diet where she would allow herself to have a piece of fruit in the morning, and then at lunch she would have like a pack of peanut butter crackers and a piece of fruit, and then a very small dinner, like essentially starving herself. And she said that she lost weight, but as soon as she started eating again, obviously all of the weight would come back, right? That's a cycle that most of us struggled with throughout our whole lives, especially, I mean, men too, but women, like I can relate to that very much so. We would starve ourselves, eat 1,000, 1,200 calories a day. And then as soon as we started eating normal again, we would regain all of that weight. So that was what her like 30s looked like. And then she did end up having a second child at 40, which God bless you, Chrissy. Like I'm 36 and I could not imagine having another child now, let alone when I was 40. So you are a freaking rock star for that right there. But that was when having a baby at 40 was when she really like, okay, now I have a weight problem. Now my weight is 180, 190. It's getting higher. I'm getting older. It's getting to a point where I'm going to be going through, the change of life, and we're going to have a problem with this weight. This is when it's really starting to click with her that I have a weight problem. Okay. There's a dog barking outside. I hope you can't hear that. If you can, I apologize. Okay, so then at 46, she said that she ended up having some medical issues that I'm not really going to go deeply into because it would take me a long time to explain exactly what went on. But essentially, she had some problems with her hearing and got diagnosed with a pretty rare thing involving her hearing and her balance and all of that, whereas she ended up having to have some surgeries. And that made her be sedentary for a prolonged period of time. And that was in 2022, I believe, when she had her first surgery. And then she ended up gaining some weight during that process as well. So that was February of 22. I'm pretty sure she had that first surgery. So she ends up gaining some weight. She's over 200 now at this point. She's very uncomfortable with herself, and she hears about Mounjaro. So Chrissy and I actually started Mounjaro at the exact same time. November of 2022, we both started on Mounjaro. She went to a doctor who was willing to prescribe it if she went to a health coach. So she was doing all of the right things. And she was on branded Mounjaro until February of 2023. When the doctor that she saw had a coupon that was good for 3 months with her insurance. The way that worked, I actually had my coupon through June of 2023. So I'm not sure exactly how that worked or what that process was for her, but her coupon expired in February of 2023. After February of 2023, she ended up switching to compounded tirzepatide, which we all know I am on. So she was on compounded tirzepatide from February 2023 until February 2024. And at that time, it got to the point where she just financially, $500 a month for the compound that she was paying for is a lot of money. And she got to a point where she wanted to try and get Zepbound approved through her insurance. Her insurance had changed. It was a new insurance kicking in. And so she decided to go back to that original doctor and see if he would prescribe Zepbound and be able to get it approved for her so that it would be cheaper. So cue this long period of her not having anything. And this is what we really want to talk about, right? So she went off of it in February 2024, and she was expecting a quick turnaround time, but that did not happen due to shortage issues and all of the things. She actually was not able to get her prior auth approved until August of 2024. So just this past August. So from February to August, she was off of the medicine, and she was running regularly. She was lifting weights regularly. She was swimming regularly. She was watching what she ate as best she could. And she was trying to keep the weight off and just kind of ride it out until her prior auth got approved. And she ended up gaining 30 pounds between February and August. She went from 161 pounds to 191 pounds in that 6-month time, when she was still dieting and exercising regularly and trying to lose weight. She still ended up gaining 30 pounds. And that is one thing that I think was really important to mention, is that she did not just go off of it and go back to eating terrible and sitting around and feeling sorry for herself because she couldn't access the medicine and not having any options. That's not what she did. She kept up her workout routine. She kept up her healthy eating habits as best as she could, and she still gained 30 pounds. That is that to me says so much about what could happen if all of us suddenly lost access to this medicine, or if, we weren't able to find it, or if it became unattainable for whatever reason. This is a perfect example of what could happen. So Chrissy says, I kind of asked her a lot of questions about the whole process of her going off, when she started to notice food noise again. And so she said that her food noise returned after about 2 months, but 1 to 2 months over that second month is when she really noticed her food noise returning. And she explained it as she suddenly wasn't able to say no as easily to the chips and the cakes and the cookies as she was previously. So when we're on a GLP-1, most of us are able to, sometimes we eat a cookie, sometimes we're like, I just don't feel like that today. That's not something I really want today, and turn it down. And she said that it became, within 2 months, increasingly more difficult to turn it down and say no. And again, that is, I think, the thing. I've said before, I'll say it again, I think the mind portion of it is the biggest portion of it. Because I think that if we were all able to turn our food noise off and have that be quieted, then we would be able to better handle our hunger in general. So I've always said, like, if I could pick appetite or the food noise, I would pick food noise, because I could handle the appetite if the food noise was gone. And so she, again, after 2 months, she has the food noise again. And no matter how hard she tried to eat right and exercise right, she gained 30 pounds in that process. Now, she did go back on Zepbound, as I mentioned, in August of 2024, and her most recent update that she gave me, she was back up to like 191. In her most recent update, it is now November, she is back down to 180, which I think is amazing. She's losing that weight back off that she gained, but pretty much as soon as she went back on the Zepbound, it kind of kicked back in, and she was able to start losing weight again and to start getting the weight off that she had lost. I think that this is such an important thing. It's such an important thing to see an example of what can happen, because I see so often in Facebook groups, my Facebook group, the Orderly Facebook group, on comment sections of people saying, hey, I want to know if you've tried to go off of it and what happened. Were you able to keep the weight off? And some might be able to. I'm not saying that there are not people in this world that can go off of it and keep the weight off. I'm saying that for the vast majority of us that do really have a GLP-1 deficit, we can't. And Chrissy is a great example of that. And I thank her so much for sharing her story with me, because it proves that. It proves that we will just go back to being these hamsters that run on this wheel of constantly trying to lose weight and eat right and exercise as much as we possibly can to reduce our calorie intake. And it will be for nothing, because if we don't have that hormonal balance fixed, if we're not balanced hormonally, it's not going to matter. It's all going to be for naught. It's going to be for nothing. So I think that seeing her story is a really good idea of that. So again, thank you to Chrissy for sharing this story with me. I hope that I covered everything that you wanted me to cover. If you want to know more about Chrissy's medical history or whatever, I'm sure she wouldn't mind if you reached out to her. I'm sure she'll comment on this video. But it did cause her to be sedentary, like I said, and gain some weight. But it really wasn't until she was having children and those hormones were changing. Another perfect example of all of the things that I've been saying. It wasn't until she was really going through these big hormonal shifts that she noticed weight increase. And that is what we are struggling with our deficiency, is all of the different hormonal changes. I would also be really interested to hear from anybody who is in menopause or is going through menopause or has gone through menopause, if you noticed weight changes. I've heard about menopausal changes causing weight gain. And again, it makes perfect sense with our hormones. And so are you somebody who is on a GLP-1 also through menopause? Is that kind of counteracting that for you? I would love to know if you are somebody that is going through that. You could email me, you could message me in the Facebook group, you could leave me a comment, whatever. I would love to hear about that. And if you are somebody who has a story that you want to share, that you feel like it would be beneficial to the community, please reach out to me via email, again, comment section, whatever, and we can get together and kind of chat about your your story and see if it's something that would really benefit everybody to hear. But I wanted to share this story because it proves everything that I've been saying for so long. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this. Let me know if you did. Tomorrow we are talking about Mounjaro, GLP-1, and brain function. Oh my gosh, this one's good. This one's nerdy. If you are a nerdy, like research, science, like to know behind the scenes stuff, this one will be for you. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Thank you again to Chrissy. Show her some love in the comments. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a great day, guys. Bye.